Good evening and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live about shaping outcomes. I've had a few people who've asked me, will I talk about this and perhaps give a bit more clarity around what exactly I mean. One of which, Orla, said, what's the difference between shaping outcomes and the law of manifestation? So I'm going to actually begin there. Those of you who receive John's monthly talks know that he speaks about the universal laws at different points. Hi Bronwyn, thank you for joining. And he talked about the law of manifestation as something relevant for all of us to understand, because there's a lot of misunderstanding around how we manifest. That's a whole different topic. However, the difference between the law of manifestation and shaping outcomes is quite an interesting one. The law of manifestation is the energy, it's the teaching. It is the rule, if you like, that says this can happen if and when. It's the theory. Shaping outcomes is where we get to practice that theory, where we think we've understood it sufficiently well that we can actually step forward, work with whatever it is we want to manifest and shape the outcome of how we experience that. Hi Orla, hi Amanda, thanks for joining. So when I talk about shaping outcomes, I'm talking about setting an intent for something that we wish to achieve. Shaping the outcome is how you work with the energy to achieve that intent. Hi Jackie, nice to have you join us. And hi Sarupa. If you like, shaping outcomes is a bit like kneading the dough. If you don't knead it thoroughly and properly, if your action isn't just right, the bread won't rise. It's the same with shaping outcomes. We can work hard at something, but if we don't apply our understanding spiritually fully enough, then the outcome that we're seeking to manifest won't occur. And it's not about getting it wrong. More and more I hear people say to me that they're worried about getting it wrong. I'll say this again and again on these Facebook Lives. If you're worried about getting it wrong, you will. Because working spiritually isn't about getting it wrong or getting it right. Working spiritually is about aligning to our guidance and following through. And if we are aligned to correctness, rightness or wrongness, we're not aligned to our guidance, because in spirit there is no right or wrong. Hi Glynis, nice to have you join us. So shaping outcomes is the process that we go through after we've set an intent to achieve what that intent is all about. And if we're in our head and we make lots of plans and work out all of the details and really get involved in all of it that way, then we're not shaping outcomes, we're planning. We're planning to achieve a goal. Hi Juliet, thanks for joining us. Shaping outcomes is bigger than that. Shaping outcomes is the process of growth that we pass through. It's the opportunity that we have to question ourselves, to get it wrong, to get it right, to trial our understanding of spirit and how it works, so that as we move towards that outcome, if we've kneaded the dough efficiently, the bread is going to rise, we're going to have a fantastic loaf. If we haven't, as occurred to me on one occasion, I could have thrown that bread at the wall, a brick wall, and the wall would have broken. I thought I'd done it beautifully. I thought I'd done it right. And I hadn't. So it's about learning how to work with energy. It's about understanding that if you're setting an intent to achieve an outcome and you haven't invited spirit to be your guide, you might achieve a goal. You won't achieve your outcome. Amanda says she understands, she's made bread like that too. It's great, isn't it? You go through all that process and you're so excited and you really think that you've done a good job. And then you fetch it out of the oven. And all of that enthusiasm that John talked about in a previous talk, all of that sense of anticipation implodes. It's kind of like, oh. I think what made it worse for me was my mom was making hers at the same time and I was copying her. I did everything that she did. I thought I'd done it perfectly. Her bread was fantastic. Mine? No. So at that point you ask yourself, how could I have done it differently? Not what did I do wrong, how could I have done it differently? And I'd like to go through some of the questions that have been asked. I'd like to put them in context too. You know, in 2013, John talked to all of us about the fact that 2013 was the beginning of the new era. It was the opportunity that we all had to let the past go, to stand in who we are, and to start to create who we intended to be going forward in the future. So you could say 2013 was an opportunity to set an intent. And since then, we've been shaping outcomes. So those of you who have been working with John since 2013, I'm actually going to throw this little comment out. 5 years down the track, how's your outcome coming along? How's it shaping up? Are you living in the new energy where anything and everything's possible? Or are you still living in the past where if you don't do things A, B, C, D, perhaps you might not achieve? In other words, is the foundation that he asked us all to set then really clear and strong? If it is, fantastic. You're shaping your outcomes beautifully. Carry on. If it's not, go back, look at the intent you set then, the outcome you wanted to achieve then, and ask yourself, how could I do it differently so that I can enjoy the outcome I really wish to enjoy? Amanda says, yes, it's a good metaphor, making bread, because you can make bread again and again and again, as often as you like, until your bread is beautiful, until literally you get your hand in. The feel of it. When you're working with dough, it's the feeling of the dough. So if the dough feels heavy in your hand, you've shaped it through your head, not through your touch. It's the same with an outcome. If your outcome is starting to feel heavy, it's coming from the head, it's not coming from your touch. It's not coming from your senses, that all 6 of them together are the most powerful way that we can achieve an outcome. Okay, so what's the difference between shaping an outcome and controlling an outcome? The difference is enormous, absolutely enormous. If you're controlling, then you have an outcome in your head already fixed. And so everything that you do, everything that you intuit, you will interpret to bring about the outcome you have in your head. That's control. When you shape an outcome, you sit and you say to your guidance, this is what I'd like to achieve. Help me, show me, work with me. And as things occur, you'll connect to what's occurring from the perspective of, is this part of my outcome? You're not asking yourself, you're asking your guidance, you're asking your intuition. Is this part of my outcome? And if it is, you allow it to develop, even if it's something you hadn't thought of. And if it isn't part of your outcome, what you do is you do it differently. So there's that thought again, do it differently. How can I tell when I'm limiting the possibilities is a really good question again. We've got some great questions. If it's not flowing, you're limiting your possibilities. It's that simple. Hi, Julie. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Marianne. Yes, Ola, there is a big difference. So the question I'm asked is there a simple step I can use if I fall into fear and limitation? Yeah, it's really simple. And it's called ask. You ask your guidance. I'm afraid. I'm not certain. Help me. What do I do now? And sometimes the answer you'll get is nothing. You may be fearful of the outcome you're shaping, and yet the outcome you're shaping may be exactly the one that you need at this point in time for where you're going. So if it's flowing, great. If it's not flowing, go back and have another look at the plan. Those questions were asked by Bronwyn. Orla asked the shaping outcomes and manifestation question, and there's another one that's part of that, which I think is very thoughtful. And this is what Orla says, if I want to shape an outcome for me that involves other people, how can I ensure it's not detrimental to them? How can I be certain that what I'm doing is harmless? And the answer is simple. You set the outcome that you want to set as an intent. So, for example, when we left the UK in 1980, our son was 6 years old. And we asked that whatever occurred, all would be well for him and to be shown if it wasn't. It was that simple. The pagan religion says, "An it harm none." An it harm none. So if you have something that you want to achieve, an outcome that you're aiming towards, as you sit and you look at it, you may not see harm to others. Does that mean that it's okay? It probably does. If you want to be certain it's okay, then I would suggest that you sit in your meditation and you say to your guidance and your intuition, this is the outcome I'm aiming for. Help me to achieve it if it's for the highest good of everyone concerned. And if it's not, please show me. And the first thing that will happen is things will slow down, the energy won't move forward very fast. At that point, you sit and you ask to have clarity about where it needs to be done differently so that it encompasses everyone. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Toshi. Nice to have you join us. It's really good because we're getting people from all over. And I love that. It's a sign of how the energy can and does move when we allow an outcome to be shaped. Okay, is the process of shaping outcomes a collaboration between intuition and personality? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Orla. If you shape your outcomes based on the guidance that you're receiving, in other words, if your personality allows, and we'll talk about allowing, if your personality allows the guidance you're receiving to be the answer that you are following to achieve your outcome, then absolutely the two are in collaboration with spirit as the leader and personality as the collaborator. If your personality is leading, spirit won't collaborate, especially if it could be harmful to others. So I hope that answers your question. You know, if you look at last week and what we did with the challenge, all of that was about enthusiasm. And I really want to thank Juliet and Sarupa here, because Juliet posted every day about how she was working with the challenge. And Sarupa commented a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, about what was happening for her. So that was powerful for other people who might be doing the challenge and might be a little bit shy about sharing how they felt. Thank you for sharing for other people to understand, because we learn from each other. But that challenge was about enthusiasm and how enthusiasm affects us. And sometimes enthusiasm can empower our ability to shape an outcome, and sometimes it can block it. We can be so enthusiastic that we only see what we want to see, and we don't see the outcome that we're working towards. Julie says, if your emotional body hijacked the personality, then I guess flow interrupts. Yes, but it doesn't just have to be your emotional body. Your mental body can hijack it. It can judge what's happening. And the moment the judgment steps in, the flow is interrupted. One of the things that was set by John was for us to create Pink Bubbles page on the website, so that anyone that wanted healing or anyone who wanted to send healing had a central point that they could go to. And that page has been used very well, and I'm very thankful to the people that have used it, because what we've done is we've built a storehouse of pink bubbles. Pink bubbles is acceptance. You cannot shape an outcome if you have no acceptance of the outcome and the process, because if you don't accept the process Spirit's giving to us to shape the outcome, we won't allow the outcome to unfold. I'd like you to think about that for a moment. If you don't accept the way that Spirit is unfolding the outcome that we're trying to shape in that moment can't be shaped. Where Pink Bubbles is concerned, everybody thinks it's a great idea. It works, it's powerful. Every time we use it, we hear feedback of how it's helped, certainly with Tony. So many people sending Pink Bubbles to Tony when he had his brain tumour. The staff were amazed at the speed of his recovery. And there are similar stories that we hear. So it's not a fluke. I guess my final thought is this. If you want to shape your outcomes, meditate on what it is you want to achieve. When you're really clear that what it is you're working towards is something that is fulfilling for you personally, may be fulfilling for others, and certainly won't harm others, then you've got the flour and the yeast. At that point, it's about diving in, starting to mix it all up, starting to knead it, and looking at what's happening to it, feeling it. Is it coming together? Does it need more flour? Has it risen long enough? Does it need more time to rise? This isn't a bread making class, but I guess bread is the best analogy I can think of, particularly since bread is supposed to be the stuff of life. So go and shape your outcomes. Practice. Don't take it so seriously that it's got to be right or wrong. Enjoy shaping those outcomes. Enjoy exploring what might come out of it that you hadn't anticipated. And I'm certain you'll have a really good time if you do. Thank you for joining us tonight. I've appreciated your presence, and I've appreciated the comments that you've made. If you've got any other comments or questions, pop them in the box, and I'll enjoy shaping the process to an outcome. and we'll see what happens. Thank you. And those of you who are part of the Harmony 21 group, don't forget that's tonight. Thank you. Good night.